In this video, I'm going to talk about why I buy gaming NFTs and I avoid gaming tokens like the plague they are. So first of all, I want to shout out the WolvesDAO and Payton from the Game Report for basically helping me come to this realization. I had already been following the NFT strategy, but I wasn't able to articulate it. And then Payton created this video right here, which explained really freaking well why I personally don't like buying gaming tokens, right? And I also want to shout out Sparkc from the WolvesDAO, who also helped me develop this thesis. He had some great thoughts on this and why he buys into gaming NFTs, especially pre-IDO. So shout out to those guys, and let's get right into the video. So my main strategy of investing into gaming crypto has been with NFTs. I've bought some tokens, but not many, and I'm going to explain why that is, right? So thanks to the work that WolvesDAO have done, it's quite easy to explain the thesis behind me buying gaming NFTs and not tokens. The problem with gaming tokens, right, and I highly encourage everybody, I'll have a link to this video, to go watch this video, which can kind of elaborate on this. But the problem is tokenomics, right? The tokenomics are awful for your average retail investor. Tokenomics is something that most people in the crypto space don't understand. And tokenomics is all about how a token works, what the supply is like, what the demand is like, what the sinks are to reduce the supply, and so on. And one of the key aspects of tokenomics is inflation. So I'm sure you've heard of how inflation is eating up your earnings, right? And how the US government printed something like 20 or 30% of all money in existence during the pandemic, and how this is leading to everything being way more expensive. That means even if you're getting a 2% or 3% raise, you're actually making way less money because everything else costs 5 or 10% more. Now, the reason for this is the US government has added a huge amount of supply of money into the economy, but there's really only kind of a similar demand for stuff, right? So now the same amount of stuff, but there's a lot more money, so the stuff just costs more, right? This is very basic kind of math. Now, guess what? Everybody complains about this in the economy, but in crypto, and especially in gaming crypto, the problem is 10 times worse. You see, if you dive deep into tokenomics for gaming projects, there's often huge amounts of supply being added. That means unless demand goes up a massive amount, the token price goes down a lot, right? So Payton gave the example of CryoWar in his video, right? You can watch the video in the description below, but based on his calculation, right, and this is the sample calculations based on CryoWar, there's something like a 900% inflation rate, because you start here with a total liquid supply of 30 million, and in around 1 year's time, it's around 530 million, right? Like it's literally something like a 10x, right? Or in terms of token supply. So you have 10x more tokens out in the marketplace. Unless you have 10x more demand, the price is just going to go down. And this is purely insane, right? That means if the demand stays the same, the price of the token is going to go down by 9 to 10x. And you can actually see that where the current token price, I think it's something like 20 cents, and Payton was able to show how basically this calculator forecasted that 20-cent price, right? Why is the supply so high? The reason for this is because a huge amount of the token supply is either for VCs, and it was sold at a much lower price to VCs than the public are getting, or it's for the team, and the team has a big allocation, and then the tokens that they have basically purchased, they start unlocking from day one, right? So 10% of the tokens are unlocked on day one. Now, because on day one, it goes out to the public have their IDO, they are able to buy it on the open market, and then let's say the VCs got in like 50 times or 100 times at a lower price, right? Like it makes so much sense to sell your 10%, you made a 10x profit already or 5x profit on your whole amount, and you still have 90% of the token, and you just keep selling a little bit every single month as they get unlocked. Now what this does is there's so much token supply coming into the market, and essentially the demand stays around the same. There's obviously an initial spike, but the demand stays around the same. Now there's a gaming bear market, so demand goes down, and it leads to this effect where basically VCs are just selling off their token. Now keep in mind that I don't have the exact price that VCs paid, but in many projects it's 10 to 50x lower than retail paid. For example, with Aurora, it was something ridiculous, like 70 times lower than the public IDO price. So with the Aurora IDO, VCs got in at 70x, right? So if you were a VC and you had that amount of a profit margin, you would start selling your tokens off the earliest you're allowed to sell it off. So they have massive incentive to sell their tokens, and that means price gets depressed as VCs cash out at insane multiples. Even if you believe in the project long term, it's just dumb to not leave those ridiculous profits on the table. Now you combine this with influencer shilling projects. So CryoWar was a very influencer shilled project, a lot of whom got in early, and this basically becomes a massive Ponzi scheme in some sort of way. Now, I'm not saying every gaming project is like that. Many of them are building legitimate video games, but the fact is that the odds are stacked massively against retail when it comes to these token unlocks and how they work and the inflation rates, and that's why you should go check this video out, download the tool, which is right here on Payton's video, and really try to understand what's going on here. And guess what? This isn't just limited to the gaming crypto space. This happens all over the crypto industry for all kinds of different products and projects. So VCs and teams are able to make huge profits just off hype and retail's ignorance. Now, why do I buy gaming NFTs instead, right? So I don't buy every gaming NFT I see, but I do purchase them based on the utility they have and whether it be in-game or access to the token. The big reason why is scarcity, right? Typically a Genesis collection, right, the first collection or the OG collection will have 5,000 to 10,000 NFTs and will have often exclusive in-game uses. And if a game really takes off, that scarcity of the Genesis NFTs is huge. Even the street cred can be massive, right? Imagine if you had, let's say, in Call of Duty, you had like an NFT collection that, kicked off like the Call of Duty franchise, and there's only 10,000 of those, and they're like basically the OG collection, right? The original 10,000 unique skins that basically you can use in-game. Imagine that, right? Like even if they had no in-use game, people would pay a lot of money just to have one of those because of the fact that, there's literally hundreds of millions of people playing Call of Duty, and then only 10,000 of these original ones, which are like, basically the most rare, hard to find items. So now that's like one side of it, but then the other side is the actual in-game utility, right? Or the actual fact that it gives you access to the token, often at a really good, basically pre-IDO amount of the token, right? So you're not really having to pay for the token, or if you do have to pay for the token, you're getting in at a much lower price than, let's say, retail would. Now, one of the reasons I do like gaming NFTs is that many projects use gaming NFTs to kick off their projects and to really build hype around their project, but also build a community, and also because it's their initial funding or maybe their second round of funding, right? Because it is usually a couple $1 million or more. And what that means is you're one of the first investors in the project via these NFTs, and there's a real benefit to the gaming NFTs, right? The team is really incentivized to keep their early backers happy. You're like one of the first believers, and most teams will try to deliver as much value as possible and make sure you get a good return. So typically what this means with gaming projects is that you're getting into the project early and you get a lot of benefits involved with these NFTs, right? In-game benefits or even token airdrops, etc., that lead to these NFTs doing better as the project starts delivering on milestones. So to give you an example, the Panzer Dogs NFTs give you access to their token, the tank airdrops, a lot of in-game benefits like faster crafting, staking for tokens, and just so much more, right? And even that access to that token pre-IDO means that if the IDO goes extremely well, the NFT holders will be rewarded quite well, right? And they sold these Panzer Dog NFTs at 1 SOL. Right now they're trading around 3 SOL. Panzer Dog holders were also airdrop tanks that are worth around 1 SOL as well. So the total value that holders have gotten since mint has been 4x. And during the last pump, the total value of the dogs combined with the tanks was something like 6.5 SOL. Unfortunately, I didn't sell any during that last pump, but it's still early. The team has just released the alpha. As the full game comes out, I imagine the price of these Panzer Dog NFTs are just going to keep going up. And that's kind of the thing about these NFT projects, right? There's a scarce amount, project does well, they become more valuable because they have use in the ecosystem. Now, another reason I invested in the Panzer Dogs NFTs is the Panzer Dogs team made it really clear that NFT holders would be rewarded massively for being early believers, right? They're treating their early NFT buyers like investors, which they are, right? That's how they're able to raise the funding to keep the project going. The fact is, if you're buying into a public IDO, you're not on the priority list of people that the team cares about, right? The VCs that got in early, the influencers, those are way ahead of priority lists. So that's kind of why I do like projects that have gaming NFTs as one of their earlier seed rounds, right? Maybe they get 1 or 2 VCs on board, then they have their NFT raise, and that's kind of like their initial, basically, seed round. And because also of the fact that the gaming NFTs are just 10,000 of them, you're not really competing with the VCs, right? The VCs are buying tokens, and that's kind of their allocation to the project, while the NFTs, they're just 10,000 of them. It's not like they're gonna make 10,000 more of the original collection that have the same utility, the same kind of significance, and then give them to the VCs, right? That's not how it works. So because of the way it's set up, you're not really competing, while with the tokens, it just comes down to they're all the same, right? So if the VCs got in at a price that's 30 or 50x lower than you did, guess what? They're gonna sell to you, they're gonna exit their position in many cases. Now, one of the big reasons I like buying gaming NFTs is that the team and NFT holders have the same goal, which is to add value to the NFT collection and really have a strong floor price. So the NFTs also allow a community to build around it. The community wants the project to succeed. The team wants the project to succeed. The fact is that the reason the team wants the NFTs to succeed is it brings a lot of attention to the project. It gives them their first 5,000 or 10,000 beta users, right? Like if you look at PanzerDogs, the NFT holders are the ones who are testing the game, providing feedback, and really helping make the game more fun. Another big portion of this is that secondary trading revenue is huge, right? With NFT collections, usually you get, whenever there's a sale on a secondary marketplace, 5% usually goes back to the original team, maybe 7%, depends on the team, right? So with most collections, right, they take 5% of royalties. With PanzerDogs, there's been over 17,000 Solana in trading volume. So that means that the PanzerDogs team has generated 850 Sol in trading volume. That's $76,000 USD in a few months, right? This released in around the end of December. So in around 4 months, they have generated $76,000. As the project grows, this easily turns out to be enough to pay the salary of a small team. And that's massive, right? So this easily covers 4 or 5 full-time team members just working on the PanzerDogs project just based on secondary trading volume. It's not, you're not even looking at the initial mint, which raised, I believe, $1 million, right? So obviously that gave them a huge runway, but then adding in the secondary trading volume, that runway extends out more. They are able to afford to add more team members to the project, invest more into marketing, and what this pretty much does is it incentivizes the team and the community and the NFT holders on the same goal, which is a stronger floor price and the NFT collection doing well. Because if the NFT collection does well, that secondary trading volume then is basically what allows PanzerDogs to keep working on this project, even without getting into the token side and so on, right? So pre-token, IDO, this is what's feeding the bills, right? So the team and the communities aligned on basically ensuring the NFT collection accrues value to really add more to the basically team secondary revenue. So this is why gaming NFTs for me have heavily outperformed my gaming token buys, right? My gaming token buys are usually down 20-30%, while my gaming NFTs are on average, they're either slightly above where they were, or in many cases they're 3 to 5x above where they were, right? So on average, it's been a far better performance from my gaming NFTs. Now with gaming NFTs, you obviously do want to buy projects from teams that are fully doxed and legitimate, as there are a lot of NFT projects that are just built by teams that don't really care, right? So you want to avoid those projects that are like, hey, we're doing an NFT collection, so we'll make this play to earn game, but nobody on their team is doxed. They don't have a gaming founder. So that's one big thing for me, right? I want somebody with an extensive gaming experience to be one of the co-founders. That to me is a sign that they know how to pull this off. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this helps you understand my perspective on this and why I am going in on gaming NFTs and I'm avoiding buying a lot of these gaming tokens. Make sure to smash that subscribe button. And the next video you should watch, if you haven't already, is the top 3 mistakes to avoid when buying NFTs. I'll have a link to that below, and that gives you a good idea of what the major mistakes are. And if you avoid them, you're going to do really well in the space.